Alright, so we're picking up where we left off. So we had defined all this stuff. Now we want to use Desmos to actually calculate this stuff, and we're going to use these things called lists because it'll just make it easier to type stuff in. And so first thing it says, go in and remove your objective function or functions and the slider Z. You know, so I want to come down here. I've got my feasible region. I can leave this stuff, but you know, we want to get rid of the sliders and the objective function stuff. So I'm getting rid of that. Okay, so, you know, so I'm here at this point and just have my feasible region. Okay, now, so it says add a note that reads demand for regions 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm just going to highlight that and do a copy. Then I'm going to come over here. Now I have to add a note, so I have to go here and say note. Control V for paste, and there's my demand for those regions. Okay, and then it says, okay, put in this list. D equals 6, 3, 2, and 1, and there it's in square brackets. So you can try copy and paste. I don't know how well that works. We might try it on one. 6, 3, 2, 1, and there. And notice it says, oh, D is a 4-element list. Okay, so I have that list. And then a note that reads time. So see, we're just putting in the table data. So I'll do a Control C for copy. Come back here, add a note. Control V for paste, and I need to put in those times, and it says do T1. Well, let's see how well this works. I'll do a Control C for copy, and I'll just try pasting this here. Now notice the 1, see it says okay, things aren't great here. Now the numbers seem to go in okay, but that 1 didn't, and I don't know about the equal sign, but the T1, it doesn't like that. So I'll get rid of the 1 and do a 1, and now everything's happy. It's a 4-element list. Okay, so it copies pretty well, but not perfectly. And then a note for the times to the rural center. There we go. Control C, copy that, and where am I? Here. Okay. And again, this needs to be another note, so I do that, Control V, and T2, I'll try that copy and paste again. It worked pretty well. Just have the 4 probably won't come through right. Control C for copy, Control V for paste, and again, see the 4 didn't come through as that subscript, so I just backspace over the 4, type 4, and it does that. So there are all my data. Okay, so that's the table that we use to fill stuff in. So I've got that. And it says that's what it should look like. And yep, that's what mine's looking like. Okay, so now we want to calculate the total demand. And notice here, what I do is I show you exactly the keystrokes that I use, and we'll try to follow those. Now, you don't want to copy and paste that in there. I don't think trying to copy and paste this would work. Might, but I don't think so. But first, let's do our note that reads total demand for the urban center. And go here, that's a note. Okay, whoops, I lost my T there on total. So I'll just put that in. Okay, now if you look at the keystrokes here, it says do a uppercase D, then a 1, then equals, and then type the word sum. So I'll start that way. So there's my uppercase D, I hit a 1, made a subscript, hit equals. Now I type the word sum, S-U. Now watch what happens when I hit M. So I'll hit M, and it makes that sigma, and you see it is asking you to fill in this one here. And so you see that's why I have sum, and then the next thing I type is a 1, and then an up arrow. Then I'll do an up arrow. So, oh, well, because I clicked back there, it's no longer where it was. Should be there. Be careful of that sort of thing. So 1. Then I hit my up arrow, and it goes up there, and that was a 4. Then it says hit a side arrow. And I do the side arrow. And this is just to get things, so a right arrow. And then I do D in square brackets of N. Okay, D, square brackets of N. Now what this is doing, the N is saying let N be 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the N here in these square brackets are saying, oh, take D, take the whatever goes in here in the square brackets is which element I want. So if N is 1, I'll get the 6. If N is 2, I'll get the 3. If N is 3, I'll get the 2. And if N is 4, I'll get the 1. And so you see, I can get at this whole list pretty quickly just by doing that D of N. And this sigma is saying add this stuff up. Then it said do a division sign or a forward slash, and then T1 and the square brackets of N said. So I got to make sure I'm down there, and T1 square bracket N like that. And there I have it. And I get 0.395, which I think, as we look down here, that's what it said I got, 0.395. And now I do the same thing for total demand for the rural center. And so you see the sum again, it's just doing each demand over each time. And remember, that's what we did. Where is it? Somewhere back here. There we go. Demand 1 was each demand over each time, right? And it was a sum of those things. So that's what this thing did. And then similarly, we want to do the total demand for the rural center. So I'll come down here and type that same stuff in. Total demand for the rural center. I think I lost my T again, but I can type that in just pretty easily. I need a note. Yep, lost my T again. Okay. And then I need something like this for the D4. The only difference is that that 1 is a 4 and that 1 there on the T is a 4. Everything else is the same. So it's D 4 equals SUM, then 1, up arrow, 4, right arrow, D, square bracket N, close the square bracket, then divide, and T, 4, and the N again. Okay, so I have my demands all defined there. So I'm down to here. This explains that Greek letter sigma and what the N is doing. It's trying to help you out. And then That's what we should have, and that is what we have. So now we want to do the total accessibility for each region. And now that we've defined those demands, we can just use our definition of total accessibility, which was number of counselors, urban counselors, over the time to center 1 from region 1. And so that's this T1 of 1 thing, and then our D1 for the total demand there. And then plus our rural counselors divided by the time for region 1 to get to the rural center, and then times that demand for the rural center. So that's what we had before. Now I'm gonna try doing a copy. Control C, and just see how good or bad this does. Oh, we need our note, so I'll have to go back and do that. So I'll make that a note. Forgot to do that. Control V. Wow, that did very poorly, didn't it? So yeah, that's not gonna work. Okay, so let's go back and enter our note. Control C for copy, put that note in there, Control V. And now this was A1 equals, and again we had X over the T1 of 1 there in brackets, and then D1. So X divided by, that's the / T1, but I need to tell it which part of the list. That was the region 1 time, and then D1. And then I'll do a right arrow to get out of there. I could always use my mouse and click over there, plus, and I need Y. And this is basically the same expression, but it's a T4 and a D4. So T4 for region 1 and D4. And there we go. Now nothing happens here, but it's also not giving us an error. Okay, now I need to do that for region 2, 3, and 4. So what I'm going to do, actually, for me, I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say add a note. I'm going to try adding a note again. So there's another note, and I need 3 new notes here. And what I'm going to do is paste. Then I copied that accessibility for region 1. I'm going to copy that, backspace, do it 2, hit enter. Okay, so now that's ready for my formula. And then I'm going to do another paste, backspace, do 3, hit enter to give it a spot for my formula. Control V to paste that one, backspace, do 4, and I've got a space for my formula. Now then, I'm going to actually copy this formula, because that will copy well. So do a Control C to copy it, Control V to paste. Now the difference here is simply all the ones, well, not all the ones because of the T1, but this one, since it's region 2, I need to make that a 2. Need to make that a 2. And that a 2. And then I'll just, again, paste that formula and do 3s. So 3. So this is just a little quicker than going back to the sheet each time. And finally, my accessibility for region 4 people. You get those 4s in there. Okay, because the total demand is always the same for each center, but the times differ depending on what region I'm in. Okay, awesome. And that's what it says it should look like. And so now we're finally ready to put in our objective function and all that. Now, the way we're going to know the difference for the objective functions, or the objective, the way we're going to minimize that difference in accessibility scores that we've just calculated, or can calculate if we give it an X and Y, is that we're going to get an average access for everybody. And that, again, the authors just define as, and this makes sense, the total number of counselors, which we know is 15 because we've required that in our constraint, and then divided by that total demand for each region, regardless of distance. And so we just need to take our X plus Y, except we know that's 15, so we'll make it 15. And then divide by the sum of the demands, which we could type in, but we could always also use our list. And so that's what we're going to do. So I need to put this in for my average accessibility. Control C for copy. Come back here and add a note. A lot of notes on this one. Like I said, that's where this could definitely be a bit confusing. And then we want our small a is our average accessibility, and I know I want 15 divided by, and then I need the sum of the demands up here, these D's, D of N's. And so I'll type sum, and then 1, up arrow to 4, and then my right arrow to get down there, and D, and the index for each region, and I get 1.25. So the average accessibility is 1.25. Now let's just look up here. This had oh wait, where is it? Oh yeah, we don't know what that is. I can't read it right off, so because of the X and Y. But at any rate, we have this formula for our average. So we're going to, now that we've got that average, and there, showing it, and we got 1.25. Now we do our objective function. And again, so I want to look at the difference for accessibility of region 1 and the average accessibility, so A1 minus A. And I want to add all those up, but the problem is we need a little more, and this is why we're going to need to go to a quadratic objective function, is we're going to have to square, because you see, if say A1 minus A were negative 1,000, because it could be negative, and then A2 minus A were positive 1,000, when I add those two differences together, I get 0. That would say, oh, there is no difference between the accessibilities, but there's a huge difference. Minus 1,000 and 1,000, that's a 2,000 point difference. And so we could do a couple of things. I don't mention it here. We could use absolute value, but actually absolute value is a little harder to work with than just squaring something. And so we're just going to square these. And so we just want to do this. We just want to say our objective function is just the sum of these differences squared. So I'm going to add my note of the accessibility objective function. Put that here, so I've got to add a note. Now the actual function, and that was just the a1 minus a, close parenthesis. You can either do an up arrow or a caret over the 6 to get up there to make the square. And then plus, and I need that same sort of thing for these others. So I'm just going to highlight that, do a copy, paste, paste, paste. Now this isn't right, I've got to change those ones, but let's see, and let's make this just a little bit wider so we can see what's going on. All right, so I need to make that one a 2. This one, this one a 3. This one a 4. And then say equals Z. For my slider, I'll add the slider, so I'll do that. And then what I tell you up in here is, well, it'll probably make your life a little easier if you make that a 0 and a 10. And so now what you need to do is you need to use the slider. See, that changes that. And you want to make Z as small as possible, where our ellipse here that is how that objective is plotted still touches our feasible region. So there we go. That's as much as I'm going to do for the project, but I think that was quite a bit. Should help you get through here and help you better understand what's going on. And then you can do that technical aspect of it, and then write up the response with the reflective portions in there. All right, so we'll call that good for project 7.